My view that the majority of the drama is over is based on two insights. One is that if he wanted to take this over, he would have just done it first and foremost. Now, of course, like I said, Elon is unpredictable by nature. Maybe he picked up on something, some communication with the board that he didn't like in the last few days and decided to go more aggressive. But I think that he would have just financially would have been the smarter thing to go more aggressive earlier. Second is when you do a takeover, even for Elon, who likes to do things fire drill, AKA talk to people who were putting together the cyber rodeo last week about how that came together at the last minute. When you think about even Elon, this would be a piece that I think is outside of where he wants to spend his time. Understand that there is something that is important to him around free speech, and I think he wants to move that forward. Understand that he sees that as an opportunity as big as electrification and as big as space travel. But ultimately, I think that it's just one too many things on the plate for him to take over. Just to finish the thought quickly, of course, I'm pretty judicious when I think about these things and try to put some math around it. Let's say there's a 20% chance he takes it over and the stock doubles. There's probably an 80% chance the stock's down. I think you put those two probabilities together, and you probably get something, the risk reward is probably neutral to slightly positive, even with all this, because I do think he does want to influence change at Twitter.
Therefore, the stock today, right now, trading at 45.60, you think should be worth what?
I think it's fractionally higher. And the reason why I hesitate to give an exact number, because I think Elon still is going to exercise what only he can do. He's probably the most famous person in the world. We talk a lot about his 80 million Twitter followers, but it's just not Twitter followers. Elon is, he is the pastor. He is the head leader of what is essentially a religion. I'm a believer too. I don't own a Tesla. I think that they're going to be wildly successful. But you just watch what happened at Cyber Rodeo last week. 15,000 people were very excited for what's going to happen with Tesla, anticipating that.
And
he
therefore,
can turn that on.
But hold on, Gene, this is the part I'm confused about. That translates to Twitter, even though he's not on the board, still a shareholder. Does he remain? Let's do it this way. Does he remain a shareholder?
Yes, I think he remains a shareholder.
At 9% or more?
He's capped at, I guess, yeah, he can go higher now that he's not on the board. I think he probably remains right at that 10% level. But I think what's going to happen is I could see him just asking people, support me in this, buy a share or two of Twitter, and then all of a sudden, and they're going to vote with him, is my point.
So it becomes a meme stock situation. Do you look at what happened over the weekend as him being pushed or as him jumping? Which is to say, do you think that he got a phone call or phone calls from either other board members, lawyers, and the like who said, what are you doing, man? Taking W out of the name, asking if Twitter's dying, that kind of thing. And he got so frustrated with that he said, I'm out of here. Or they called and said, you know what? If you're going to be asking people if Twitter's dying on Twitter, we don't want you on the board.
My guess is the people who know him best know how to speak some reason to him. And I suspect that it wasn't a push. I think that you try to push Elon, he's probably going to do the exact opposite. And so I suspect that just there was maybe a voice of reason that came into this in terms of what was in play. Again, there's a 20% chance I'm dead wrong. He takes this straight over. But I think that there is a lot to do with this. So to answer your question, I think that people spoke to him, probably board members spoke to him. Do you really want to get involved with this? He probably thought it was a funny idea to do this and to pursue this, and then probably stepped back and said, actually, maybe not so good of an idea to be on the board. It's one more thing I don't want to do. And here we are. But again, I think that the reason why all of this happened hasn't changed. Elon has been frustrated for the past 2 years. That quite remarkable earnings call a couple of years ago after the Fremont shutdown, I think really began this movement for him around free speech. He's not going to give up. I'm not trying to give a mixed message here. The message is that he wants to play a more protracted role in what's going on at Twitter, but he does want to influence change, and he has the power to do that, just given, I think he's the most famous person in the world, and people really believe in him.